A mochi moment from Mark, who writes, I just want to thank you for making GLP-1s affordable. What would have been over $1,000 a month is just $99 a month with Mochi. Money shouldn't be a barrier to healthy weight. 3 months in, and I have smaller jeans and a bigger wallet. You're the best. Thanks, Mark. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Mark is a Mochi member compensated for his story.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I'm discussing the case of Leonard Dirickson. In 1998, at a farmhouse in Strong City, Oklahoma, 39-year-old Leonard Dirickson sat down for breakfast with his teenage son. As they were cleaning up, they were interrupted by a mysterious stranger in a truck, inquiring about a horse for sale. It'd been a tough few years for their family farm, so Leonard told his son he was going to leave with the man in hopes of selling one of their horses on another property, and that he'd be back that afternoon. But Leonard remains missing to this day, and his case is now considered one of the most puzzling cases in Oklahoma history. This is the case of Leonard Dirickson. It's about 9 a.m. on Saturday, March 14th, 1998, and 16-year-old Jared Dirickson just finished eating breakfast with his father, 39-year-old Leonard Dirickson, at their 800-acre farm in Strong City, Oklahoma. But their morning is interrupted by an unexpected visitor, an unknown man. This man pulled up to their home in a newer white F-150 truck with a yellow plate on the front. He doesn't exit the vehicle. Instead, Leonard goes outside to speak with him. Jared watches some of this interaction from the window and says he couldn't really get a good look at the man through the windshield, but he doesn't believe it's anyone his father knew. After a few minutes, Leonard comes back inside, grabs his black faded Carhartt jacket, and explains to Jared that the man is interested in buying one of their horses. According to some reporting, specifically a stud horse. The horses aren't there on their farm, though. They're going to Elk City, Oklahoma, about 30 minutes away, and a bit further to Mobeetie, Texas, which is about an hour away. That's where Leonard stores his horses. After this, Leonard asks Jared to finish a few chores while he's gone, and assures him that he'll be back that afternoon. Here's part of Jared's interview with Unsolved Mysteries.
So he told me that he was going to go with him. He said to stay here and go to Elk and get some feed and go feed the cows, and he'd be back that afternoon.
Jared does his chores as he was asked, but the hours start going by into the afternoon, and then into the night, and Leonard still hasn't come home or even called home to let Jared know what's going on. But Jared doesn't jump to the worst-case scenario here. He just goes to bed like normal, expecting his father to be there when he wakes up. But of course, since we are here today discussing Leonard's case, we know that didn't happen. And the following morning, Jared reports his father missing to the Roger Mills County Sheriff's Office. According to reporting by the Daily Oklahoman, this is their first missing persons case since 1981, nearly 20 years. This definitely isn't something that this sheriff's office is used to handling, but I will say that Sheriff Joe Hay becomes very passionate about finding Leonard very quickly. In nearly every article I found on this case, I saw Sheriff Joe speaking his mind about it, and about Leonard. You're going to hear a lot about him in this episode. It's clear that he knows this area and he knows this man fairly well. So while the sheriff's office as a whole may not have a lot of experience working these cases, it seems that the passion is there. I mean, Hay knows this man so well that he knows exactly where Leonard keeps his horses. So the sheriff's office checks with the owners of those properties, but no one reports seeing Leonard, or even hearing about Leonard trying to sell one of his horses. It seems that if Leonard did have a horse for sale, he didn't advertise this anywhere. Now, they also check every route from Leonard's home in Strong City to both the property in Elk City and in Mobeetie, Texas. Their thinking is that maybe the men got into an accident that hasn't been reported. They physically drive these routes and call in aerial support to check from above as well, but they don't find anything. Hay immediately thinks that this is odd for Leonard. He told the Daily Oklahoman, quote, "This is very unusual for this guy. Occasionally, you have a guy who twists off and goes away for a while. But not this guy. He's not a drinker and not a doper. He's a hardworking guy." End quote. They're pretty stumped in this case. But it's not long before the first reported sighting of Leonard comes into the sheriff's office. And it throws everyone for a loop. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together. And Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. When Leonard Dirickson went missing, no one could figure out why. But there was a sighting of him just about 2 hours after he left home. A server at the Kettle restaurant in Elk City reported serving Leonard and another man matching the description of the unidentified man that Jared saw. Now, like I told you earlier, Jared didn't get a great look at the guy. He was watching from the window and only saw this man through the windshield. But he did report that the man had a reddish-brown beard, was tall and stocky. The server at the Kettle restaurant describes the unidentified man as white with a reddish-brown beard, long nose, a thick round face, and dark eyes. She said he was maybe 40 years old, 6'2", and weighed about 210 pounds. Investigators also showed this server a photo of Leonard, and she confirmed that he was the man that she served that day. She said they both ordered the breakfast buffet. On the surface, it seems pretty cut and dry. But there are some issues and conflicting opinions on this sighting. First, it appears that the Kettle restaurant only served the breakfast buffet until 11 a.m., making some question the validity of the server's statement or her memory of the time of the sighting. The next debate was over Leonard having 2 meals that morning. Members of his family and Sheriff Hay say that this doesn't make any sense for Leonard to stop for a second breakfast. I've actually found articles of Hay saying this several times. It appears to be a real sticking point for him. And here he is reiterating this to Unsolved Mysteries.
Now, that's a little odd to us because at 9 o'clock, Leonard just got through eating breakfast with his son. It's extremely odd to eat 2 breakfasts in the same day 2 hours apart.
Like I said earlier, when you read Hay's statements to the media about Leonard, it's clear that he was very familiar with this man, which is maybe why he's so adamant about this. Now, I'm not saying that this is the most important detail in this case, but I just want to make sure you know that this is something that Hay is very passionate about, this belief that Leonard would not have eaten 2 meals that morning. And again, it is reiterated by Leonard's family, but it seems that there may have been some type of miscommunication between Hay and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. They were also pulled into this case, because in that Unsolved Mysteries episode, we also hear from them, specifically Inspector Cliff Gann, and he says that Leonard didn't seem to eat much at all.
They were sitting there in the restaurant, and the unknown man that we're trying to identify was doing most of the talking, and Leonard was just drinking coffee and listening to the man talk.
So we have one agency saying one thing and another agency saying something different. Quite literally back to back in this episode. So like I always say, take that for what you will. What I can say is that in all the sources I found, no one reported anything odd about this sighting. Neither of the men appeared to be acting suspiciously. They didn't seem to argue, and it just seemed to be 2 men sitting down together at this restaurant. I mean, just my opinion, I could see 2 people stopping in a restaurant to discuss the possible purchase of a horse. It's a big transaction. But again, it seems that officials seem a bit split on this, with Hay pretty consistently questioning this sighting, and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation appearing to confirm the sighting. Now, while there seem to be some opposing statements from law enforcement, what I will say is that at this point, no one thinks Leonard would have left voluntarily, especially not leaving his children behind. Even the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation tells the media that they do suspect foul play. And again, while the sheriff's office doesn't really have experience in missing persons cases, they are putting in the work. By the 1-week mark of Leonard being missing, the sheriff's office interviewed 71 people in this case. They also created and distributed a sketch of the unknown man using Jared and the server's descriptions of him. By the beginning of April, Hay reports that they followed and closed hundreds of leads in the case. He told the Daily Oklahoman, quote, "We have as much now as we did the first day he was reported missing. Now the calls are starting to dwindle down. With most investigations, you usually have a place to start. We don't even know where to start with this one." End quote. At this point, they have no idea who this stranger is. And they have no motive for why he might want to hurt Leonard, or why Leonard might be compelled to leave his life behind willingly. And it doesn't seem that Leonard really had the means to do so if he wanted to. Most who knew him say that he may have had up to $150 on him when he got into that truck, but that's it. He also left behind an uncashed paycheck, and while he did have a few credit cards, they were mostly maxed out and never used after he went missing. In fact, there were no activities on any of Leonard's accounts after March 14th. Now I want to read you a few more quotes from Sheriff Hay. Quote, "We found no reason why someone would kill him. We've talked to anyone and everyone he had dealings with, and everyone thought the world of him. I'm sure there are a few out there who weren't his friend. We just haven't found them." End quote. Hay also said, quote, "Someone asked why anyone would get in with a stranger. Well, that might be true if we were talking about someone from Oklahoma City or Amarillo or Dallas. But out here, where Leonard was born and raised, it comes natural to trust people." End quote. I think Leonard's upbringing and past are important to discuss here, because outside of foul play, the most prevalent theory in this case is that he left on his own accord. And I could see why that theory is on the table given the last few years of Leonard's life. But let's start from the beginning. Leonard has very strong roots in Oklahoma. Like Hay said, he was born and raised there. And his parents are still in Elk City. According to Hay, he sees them pretty much every day. But outside of his parents, Leonard also built his own family about 30 minutes away in Strong City. He married his high school sweetheart Kathy when he was 18. Together, they built up a very successful dairy business on the 800-acre farm. In addition to dairy cows, they also had pigs and horses. They also had 2 children together, Jared, and then about 2 years later, a baby girl named Connie. For about 20 years, Leonard and his wife Kathy have this successful marriage and business raising their kids on the farm. But that does change in 1996. That year, Leonard and his wife got divorced. There is a custody battle for the kids. In the end, Leonard's wife takes Connie to live about 5 hours away in Hammond, Oklahoma, and Leonard and Jared stay on the farm. It's obviously a very sad situation, but by all accounts, Leonard and his ex-wife are on good terms when all is said and done. However, by the end of 1997, just a few months before Leonard went missing, he was forced to sell his dairy business. According to most reporting, this seems largely due to skyrocketing costs of both feed and milk. Sheriff Hay told the Daily Oklahoman, quote, "Leonard was having a lot of financial problems. I don't even think his family realized how bad it was." End quote. Now, business on the farm wasn't completely shut down. They still had pigs and about 15 horses, but the main dairy business was gone, and Leonard picked up a second job working at a local metal company. But it seems that Leonard actually really embraced this change and enjoyed the new gig. He told his parents that he liked it so much that he hoped to buy the company from the owners one day. So while there was clearly a lot of change in Leonard's life in the year leading up to his disappearance, there doesn't seem to be any clear indicator that he was ready to leave everything behind to start a new life. But about 6 months into the investigation, there's another mysterious sighting of Leonard Dirickson.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head. From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
The next and unfortunately last sighting of Leonard Dirickson happened about 6 months after he went missing in September 1998. This is when the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation got a call from a man in a bar in Amarillo, Texas. He said Leonard was right there with him in the bar. However, the caller refused to give his name and ended the call. Now, local police were dispatched to the scene, but the caller was gone and they couldn't find Leonard either. The Roger Mills County Sheriff's Office followed up the next day, and the bartender did corroborate the caller's story. Here is Hay again.
The individual that called stated, "I know Leonard Dirickson. I'm from Elk City. I can't give you my name, but he's in this bar. I'm watching him. He's wearing a blue check shirt, and he's drunk." And then the call terminates. We have no reason to disbelieve it. It would almost stretch the imagination that a guy would dance around in the bar screaming and hollering, it's Leonard, and it not be Leonard. I believe he was in the bar.
So Hay seems to think that this really was Leonard. So at this point, the sheriff's office has an officer sit in the bar for a few days. Reporting on exactly how long does differ a bit, but they do sit there to see if Leonard or the caller came back into the bar, and neither ever did. Like the sighting at the restaurant, it seems so promising, but doesn't lead to them finding Leonard. And the leads really just dry up. In the year 2000, Jared gives another interview to the Daily Oklahoman shortly before Leonard's 42nd birthday. Jared is 18 now, and living with his grandparents in Elk City. Connie is 16 and still living with her mother in Hammond. Jared said he dreams of his father often, adding, quote, "I love him a lot. I wish I could see him again. I pray to God he will let me see him again." End quote. Both of Leonard's parents also give statements. His father, Don Dirickson, said, quote, "What could have possibly happened? Where could he possibly be? You could imagine 1,000 different things. You just don't know. If he's alive, I just want him to come back home." Jared needs him worse than we do." End quote. His mother, Norma Dirickson, said, quote, "Now every time I read in the paper or hear on the news that a body was found, I wonder. I have to check to see if it's Leonard. I've even walked all the canyons around here to see if I might find him. In my heart, I know something bad has happened. He wouldn't have left Jared. They were just too close." End quote. And of course, Sheriff Hay chimed in as well, saying, quote, "We really don't know what happened. We know as much now as the first day he was reported missing." End quote. Hay adds that he doesn't know if Leonard is still alive, but he knows he has to be out there somewhere, and he's determined to find him. But again, Leonard's case just sits. And with so little information, the media stopped reporting on his disappearance too. Really, the biggest break they've had media-wise is that Unsolved Mysteries episode he was featured in about 3 years after he went missing. And at this point, Hay really seems to have changed his tune. In all of that early reporting, he's confident that Leonard would not have left voluntarily, and especially that he wouldn't have left Jared. But here's what he told Unsolved Mysteries.
It's entirely possible that Leonard left on his own. I don't know where he would be today. I believe it's possible that he's working as a ranch hand somewhere, or on a dairy or a cattle ranch, or even horses.
I mean, I will say that I do understand the change of heart after a certain amount of time. Or even that Hay just didn't want to think about the worst-case scenario for Leonard. I can't say for sure, but Hay seems to care deeply for this man and for his family. Which brings me to what Jared said about this on the show.
Me and my dad, we was together every day. Every morning we'd go work, do the chores, and I'd go to school. I don't think he would have ever left me and not ever come back to see me or nothing, because we was close, and I don't think he'd ever done that to me.
Obviously, it's just heartbreaking. And like I said, that's a sentiment that's been shared by pretty much every person who's commented on this case. That Leonard and his son were incredibly close, and leaving Jared like that, especially in a time of uncertainty in their family, was just unimaginable to them. Leonard's mother, Norma, says the same thing on that episode of Unsolved Mysteries. She adds that it wasn't just Jared who he wouldn't leave, but his entire family. She stresses that they were just too close for him to do that. I mean, this is a multi-generational business. This is a family who people know, a family who's been here for half a century. It's all Leonard ever knew. What's left behind are really just crumbs. But here's what we know. The unidentified man has never been found, and neither has his truck. Investigators looked into Jared's description of the vehicle, especially that yellow license plate on the front. At first, they considered whether it might be a New Mexico plate, but that state only requires tags on the back of a vehicle. And there are other states that issued license plates featuring the color yellow, like Pennsylvania and Kansas. So in the end, they weren't really able to do much with this lead. The next issue, the next crumb, is the horse. The horse the unidentified man asked about purchasing was never advertised for sale. This seems to be a huge sticking point for people in this case. However, I would argue that something like that may have just spread by word of mouth. Maybe Leonard mentioned to someone that he might be looking to sell one of his horses to alleviate some of the financial stress he was experiencing. But that is just speculation. And to this day, no one has come forward to say that they told someone about this horse for sale and directed them to Leonard. Which brings me to my next point, the location of Leonard's property. This is a very important detail in this case. He lived on an 800-acre farm in a very rural area. To get to this home, whoever this man was would have had to know where to go. This has been confirmed by law enforcement and by Leonard's family. This home isn't just off to the side of the road. To get to Leonard and Jared's house, this man would have taken several back roads with this destination in mind. So given that there was no advertisement for a horse for sale, I think it's fair to assume that this man was either familiar with the farm or told where to go. Really, there only seem to be a few possibilities here. One, that Leonard knew this man, arranged this, and left on his own accord to start a new life. But again, as we know, this theory isn't supported by much. Leonard seemed happy with his new job, and there was never any activity on his accounts. There were also never any large withdrawals around the time that he went missing. So if he did leave to start a new life, maybe around Amarillo, Texas, where that bar was, he either would have had to have a brand new identity or help from someone. He also had to be very good at hiding, since our last sighting was from about 30 years ago. Of course, the other theory is foul play, that this man wanted to hurt Leonard for some reason. Investigator Cliff Gann from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation posed the theory that maybe this mystery man took Leonard to be killed by someone else. That's how he knew how to get to their home. But the biggest issue with the foul play theory is that there doesn't seem to be any motive. Leonard and his ex-wife were on good terms, and they've never found anyone else who may have wanted to harm him. Also, the idea of this being a chance encounter seems really low given the location of the farm. I mean, I guess it's possible someone got lost on the back roads, ended up at the farm, and decided to kill Leonard for some random reason. But again, we just don't have really anything to point to that theory either. The last theory is that everything happened in good faith. This man really wanted to buy a horse, and Leonard wanted to sell a horse, but something happened to both men along the journey. That sometime after they stopped at the restaurant, something happened, possibly some type of accident, and neither men have been recovered. It seems plausible, but the wrench thrown in this theory is that there was never a second man reported missing matching that description, just Leonard. And once again, I'm going to reference another quote from Sheriff Hay. Quote, "The problem with our John Doe is the same problem they had with John Doe number 2 from the Murrah bombing. He looks like everybody and nobody at the same time." End quote. Of course, Sheriff Hay is referring to the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing by Timothy McVeigh. While the FBI now believes McVeigh acted alone, back in the 90s there were reports of a possible co-conspirator, John Doe number 2, a stocky man who fit the description of many men. So while they seem to have a pretty good description and sketch of this man last seen with Leonard Dirickson, he unfortunately fits the description of many, many men in this area, and of course has yet to be identified. Every theory in this case really seems like a shot in the dark. I think that's why it's still considered one of the most puzzling disappearances in Oklahoma history. Obviously, we don't know what happened to Leonard, but we do know that he is very loved and very missed. Leonard's father passed away in 2015 at the age of 88, and his mother Norma in 2022 at the age of 91. They lived with this ambiguous loss for the rest of their lives. As far as I could find, Jared is still living with this, as well as Connie. Still wondering what happened to their father that morning. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Leonard's case. This is another one with almost no media, especially recent media. Most of the information I could find for this episode came from law enforcement listings, that Unsolved Mysteries episode, and a handful of articles from the local papers. Those pretty much stopped a few years after Leonard went missing. This type of loss can be so painful, especially with so few answers, and especially for Jared. Hearing him nearly in tears speaking about his father is a huge reason why I wanted to cover this case, to hopefully bring some attention back to Leonard. So please take a moment to share. We see cases solved all the time. All it takes is one person with the right information to bring long-awaited answers in this case. As a reminder, Leonard Neal Dirickson was 39 years old when he was last seen on March 14, 1998, at his home in Strong City, Oklahoma. He was seen getting into a newer or possibly 1994 white Ford F150 pickup truck with an unknown man. He told his son that they were headed to Mobeetie, Texas and Elk City, Oklahoma to look at horses. Leonard is white, about 6 feet tall, and weighed approximately 200 pounds at the time of his disappearance. At that time, he had brown hair with a red handlebar mustache. He has gray eyes and a small scar under one eye. He was last seen wearing a brown cap with a green bill, a faded black Carhartt brand coat, green jeans, and black and brown shoes or boots. The unidentified man Leonard was last seen with has been described as white, about 6'2", around 40 years old, and approximately 210 pounds with a reddish-brown beard, long nose, dark eyes, and a thick round face. He was seen wearing blue jeans, a striped Western shirt, a blue jacket, and a cap with the words "No Fear" on the front. He may be right-handed and smokes cigarettes, possibly Marlboro Lights. A sketch has been created and circulated for further reference. Anyone with information is asked to call the Roger Mills County Sheriff's Office at 580-497-2417. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man, an 8-episode series, now streaming on Disney+.
A superhero remake, not exactly what we'd expect from an Oscar-winning director.
Action! Simon Williams, audition for Wonder Man.
I'm gonna need you to sign this, assuming you don't have superpowers.
I'll never work again if anyone found out.
My lips are sealed.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man. All 8 episodes now streaming, only on Disney+.
Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio door is open and our emotional support puppies, Popcorn and Heber, are in the room. Let's go right into this case. Like I said, when I saw Jared and Unsolved Mysteries, like that was it for me. You know, when I try to pick a case to cover, I look at a fair amount of media before moving forward. And when I saw that, I knew I wanted to help. And this is another one of those cases that unfortunately doesn't get a lot of coverage because there's not a ton there. At least I think, you know, it doesn't have all those twists and turns I think a lot of shows look for when covering a case. In my mind, I think this is an extremely compelling case. And even though it's a shorter episode, it just sticks out in my mind as one of those truly mysterious cases where almost anything could have happened. Or at least that's my opinion. Now, on my list of things to talk about, first was how Jared just broke my heart. And, you know, I play those clips not to make you guys feel bad, but so that you can understand the impact that these cases have. I think me telling you that Jared is sad is something completely different from you hearing it, you know, for yourself. So I hope that came through. The next point I wanted to talk about was this idea of 2 breakfasts. In all of these articles almost, it is such a sticking point for Hay. And again, his family does talk about it, right? And I started to think, like, why is this one of the things that people just keep talking about? And, you know, of course, what I do in these cases is like draw from my own reference, you know, with a missing persons case. And I think it might just be one of those things where these people know their person so well that it just sticks with them, that it just bugs them. Like one example I could use in my sister's case is the note that was left behind. And, you know, even before I suspected my dad in my first interview with police, I say, what really bugged me about that note was the capital A instead of her using her usual lowercase a. So again, I feel like this 2 meals thing might just be something that the family and something that Hay can't get out of their minds. Like maybe Leonard didn't eat a lot, right? Maybe he was notoriously, you know, a smaller eater, if you will. I don't know. Just a thought. Now let's go on to media discrepancies. Of course, I think there was like 11 articles on this case in the Unsolved Mysteries episode. which is a shame. I wish that there was more. But in that Unsolved Mysteries episode, there were some discrepancies. I think the biggest one is they said Jared was 19 instead of 16 when his dad went missing. And it's not like the biggest thing in the world. I always find it interesting when these large productions get things wrong like that. But I believe Jared would have been around the age of 19 while doing the show, so that's maybe where they got mixed up. The only other thing was that two breakfasts, how we have saying that Leonard, would have never had two breakfasts. And then you have the state agency, that gentleman saying, well, he really only drank coffee. So, like, in my mind, I just want to know which was it, right? Because this dang breakfast topic is such a sticking point for people. I would have loved more clarification there. It doesn't look like they interviewed the server. I mean, I know they didn't, not for the show. I would just love to, know more about what the server said. Why do you order a breakfast buffet and then just drink coffee, if that is the case? I don't know. Again, with so little to go on this case, I do feel like I'm kind of overanalyzing every point I can, but, that's what this after show's for. On to our hero of the episode. It's Sheriff Hay, Sheriff Joe Hay. He's no longer there. I did try to look and see, kind of what he's up to now. And it seems, he's stayed out of the news, which could be good and bad, right? But obviously, Sheriff Hay makes our hero of this episode because I'm getting emotional. When law enforcement goes above and beyond to make so many statements, there's something about that just really touches my heart. And again, Hay was like, well, I know where this guy keeps his horses. He just seemed so involved in this community that it was really, really touching. And again, this is a case without a lot. So that's why Hay makes our hero of this episode. He really stuck with his family. And again, in almost every piece of media, you can find Hay talking about it. So wherever you are, Sheriff Hay, Sheriff Joe Hay, I hope that you are having a fantastic day. But let's go on to our segment of hope. This is from Esther Walcott at People, and the title reads, 1-year-old Florida girl found miles away after she was missing for more than a month. Now, I'm not going to say her name. You guys know this is a 1-year-old. She doesn't need, some future employer Googling her name and finding this out in, 16 years or whatever. But she's 1 year old. She was reported missing on December 2nd. She was last seen with her father, Thomas, and her mother, Jamie, in Pensacola. And this is a weird one. So the article says, in December, police entered a hotel where they found the mother acting strangely in the lobby and unable to locate her daughter after possibly suffering an overdose. Quote, we got a call about an individual who was potentially suffering from an overdose. We get there and it's actually the mother of the 1-year-old, end quote. They then found the 1-year-old with a man in a room inside of the hotel. There was also a quantity of narcotics, according to police. Now, this is where it gets really confusing because the man inside of the room didn't appear to be the 1-year-old's father. And as the mom was sent to the hospital, it appears that the 1-year-old went missing. Police believe that it was the father who took the child, but they can't confirm that either, apparently. And while the mom was in the hospital, they wrote up a warrant for her, but by the time they tried to serve it on her, she was gone. So this has been a huge mess. How that child slipped away during that time, I have no idea. But on Thursday, January 15th, 2026, they did announce that the baby was located safely in Alabama. And no further details surrounding her disappearance and discovery have been shared. So, this makes our segment of hope for obvious reasons. The 1-year-old was found and she is safe. I should have said that before, sorry. And I thought it was specifically unique for this episode, too, because it is so mysterious. How did this child go missing right in front of police? How did they let the mother, go to the hospital and be released without arresting her? I have a lot of questions. And, if I can find more in the upcoming, weeks and days or whatever, I will certainly update you. But for now, it is largely a mystery. but also a great segment of hope because this child was found and found to be totally safe. So with that, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car should feel like one less thing on your list, not one more. With Carvana, it is. Just go to Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, and get a real offer down to the penny. No back and forth, no surprises, just an experience you can trust. Like your offer? Accept it. Schedule pickup, and we'll come to you with a check in hand. Your car, your timeline, your terms. Visit Carvana.com to sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.